Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Beltway Book Club. I am your host, Ellen Meny, and I am so excited to welcome my guest today. She is a journalist and an author. That would be Sophie Elmhirst, the author of A Marriage at Sea. Sophie, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, this is such a fascinating book, and it's beautifully written as well. And to do both at the same time is extremely impressive. So, if people don't know about it, Marriage at Sea, can you tell me a little bit about what the book is about?
Of course. Yeah, it's a true story. And it's about an English couple in the 1970s who were a young married couple. And they set off from the south of England on a little sailing boat. They decided to go on a round the world journey on this boat. And they were going to move to New Zealand. That was the plan anyway. But by the time they'd got to the Pacific Ocean, they had an encounter with a whale, a huge sperm whale, which hit their boat. And their boat sank. Um, and the story, I won't give maybe too much away
No
right now, but the
spoilers,
story
yes.
essentially, the story sort of follows, well, what becomes an unbelievably long um, journey of survival. They are adrift on a little inflatable raft for nearly 4 months. And it's about the sort of practical ways that they try and survive, how they eat, how they drink, how they cope with being floating around in the middle of the ocean. But it's also I suppose a lot about the sort of psychological process of
Mm.
survival and their marriage and what it's like to be cast adrift just with your spouse for that kind of length of time. And so I guess it sort of tells the double story in a way of the physical and the emotional, the mental sort of task ahead of them.
Well, and I feel like the title explains that so well. A marriage at sea. It's kind of obviously literally a couple at sea, but I feel like when you say a marriage at sea, it speaks to the tumultuous nature of relationships sometimes. What what grabbed your interest about this specific story?
And when I came across it, which was by chance, I'm a journalist by trade, and I was researching pieces. I wanted to write a piece. It was in the kind of pandemic time. I wanted to write a piece about people who were trying to sort of escape in different ways and live at sea or go get off the land and onto the ocean in some way. And I came across their story completely by chance. And of course, what grabbed me immediately was the drama of it and the extremity of it, really. I mean,
Right.
just the idea that it could possibly, that anyone could survive for that length of time in the middle of the ocean. And I wanted to know just the sort of practicalities of that, how on earth they did it. But actually, I sort of knew I'd been looking for a book idea for a long time, and I kept sort of picking things up and discarding them, and picking things up and discarding them. And this grabbed me once I knew, well, that there was very rich material to draw on, but also I think because I wanted to explore that sort of other level, that sense of a relationship and what an experience like this, a crisis like this, but a sort of prolonged crisis like this would do to a relationship. And it was that kind of dynamic that really fascinated me, I suppose, that I really thought deserved and sort of warranted a kind of more, I don't know, a longer treatment, I guess.
It is fascinating. And as I was researching you before we chatted and researched your book, I really noticed that beyond your book, the story of that couple is not particularly well known. There is not a lot of press about it,
Yeah,
which is shocking to
yeah.
me.
It was shocking to me too. I I was sort of perplexed by it, and I think once I sort of realized that, I found quite quickly, obviously, the fact that they'd written their own books shortly after it had happened. One in particular, but that was a very quite a short sort of factual account, I guess, of what they'd been through. But when I just started asking people about them, do you remember this story? It's only this 1970s. I figured my mom or that generation, would have sort of good memories because they became, they were sort of a sensation, a media
Mm.
sensation when they were rescued. But no one seemed to remember them at all. They didn't seem to be very much around. They didn't seem to be beyond their own sort of writings from the time. There didn't seem to be much that had endured. Once I started speaking to people in the kind of sailing community, sailing world, then people seem to, then it was a more familiar story. It's, they kind of treasure their legendary survival stories in that world. So, but more broadly than that, it didn't seem to be well known or remembered. And I sort of couldn't really believe that, given what they'd been through. I sort of felt that they deserved to be more thoroughly remembered and also more thoroughly known, not maybe just for this one like episode, but as characters, and they were extraordinary characters. So I wanted to sort of put them out in the world a little bit more.
Absolutely. And they are, I feel like, very well known now, which kind of leads into my next question. I also want to show off the book a little bit. The cover is beautiful. I love it. It is stunning. And I'm sure a lot of people have seen that cover everywhere. The book came out in hardback and it's now coming out in paperback. Is that right?
Oh no, I think it has just come out in paperback
Yes, yes,
in
exactly.
the US. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. But this book blew up. I mean, I think President Barack Obama enjoyed it. Multiple people, multiple highly famous, highly respected people have enjoyed it. I have to ask, what was that like as an author to have this book really reach such a wide audience and kind of have that prestige? Was it a surreal experience? Was it odd?
Yeah, I mean, it was completely surreal.
Okay.
It was nothing that I had ever imagined. When I sort of found the story and was working on the story, it was my first book, so I hadn't had experience with this before. I've been working as a journalist for a long time, but to me, it seemed. I knew it was a good story,
Yeah.
right? There's something goes off in your radar. You found something very special, and especially given that as we said, that it wasn't well known, but um it was also to me quite an eccentric story.
Mm.
They were quite an eccentric couple and it was a very sort of quite a sort of local English story. I just sort of thought, well, look, it's really just the story of these two people doing this extraordinary thing, but and it's intimate, and I wanted it to write it as a sort of intimate story, an intimate story of their marriage in a way. And I just didn't, it never occurred to me, I guess, that would find a sort of, I suppose I knew, and what I was interested in was some of the sort of universal ideas within that intimate story of relationships and endurance and life and death. These are things that we all face. But yeah, I never thought it would sort of resonate the way it has, especially in the US, actually. And it's been amazing to, see readers respond in the way they have.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Sophie, we have to go to break, unfortunately. But when we come back, I will talk to you more about the writing process and all of that good stuff, including some of your favorite books. So, everyone, stay tuned. We will be right back with more Beltway Book Club after this quick break. Welcome back to the Beltway Book Club, everyone. As always, I'm your host, Ellen Meny. So excited to chat with my guest today, Sophie Elmhirst. She is a journalist and the author of A Marriage at Sea, which is such a fantastic book, and it's been lovely to talk with you. And now this is like one of my favorite parts of every interview. I get to talk about the writing process, which is always so interesting. So, Sophie, you're a journalist by trade, as you said before. What was it like to dive into the world of nonfiction?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very different process for me writing this book. I've worked in magazines as an editor and then as a freelance writer for a long time. And, but I'm used to interviewing people,
Yeah.
to writing stories that are about things that I can like go and witness myself and, talk to everyone involved and, where you have a sort of sensory engagement, I guess, with the story. And this was a story that I found that had happened 50 years ago,
Mm.
and the two main characters were no longer alive, sadly. And immediately that was a sort of new challenge for me, but one that I was very excited to try. I felt like it was a story worth telling, and so I guess the overall challenge, as it is with all writing, but even more so when your main subjects aren't there to talk to, was to how to sort of try and figure out how I was going to make it really live on the page. And in that sense, I was very lucky with this story because there were both, there was an amazing kind of wealth of material, both left behind by them, that, the diaries and letters and books
Wow.
that they've written. But also there were people I could talk to. There were their families, a sister on Marilyn's side and a brother I could write with on Morris's side, even though they had a fairly distant relationship. But there was also a very good surviving friend who had sailed with them as well, had known them before this trip that they went on and afterwards, and gone on another long voyage with them, and had known them right up to the end of their lives. And he was absolutely an amazing sort of person to talk to and resource for me, really, because he such an intimate understanding of their characters, and wasn't afraid to, was very willing to sort of talk very openly about them and about their flaws as much as their many great strengths. And so I got a very sort of rounded sense of them, I think, from conversations with him. So, and then also because, as I mentioned, they were, had this kind of 15 minutes of fame, I guess, after they were eventually rescued. And I don't think I'm giving too much away by saying that, in the sort of newspaper archives, there was rich material, endless sort of articles and interviews and things that they'd done before they were then completely forgotten about later on. So, I had a lot to draw on, but that was, I guess, the main difference to the, my usual work of journalism, where I get to be in the room with people.
Very true. But I feel like having the gold mine, so to speak, of people to talk with and the media articles from when they were rescued, that even though the folks you wrote about are no longer with us, that allowed you access, a lot of access.
It did allow me
to
access.
Yeah.
It's true. And it also allowed me something which I found very interesting to write about, which was, in a way, how something goes from being an experience, a very intimate experience that they had, to a story which becomes sort of interpreted and owned by the world. And I found that I was very interested in writing about that as well, what fame does, how people perceive how something's happened, and how often that is so different from, the person's experience of it. And that was often the case for Morris, especially. He felt, that what they'd been through was often really misinterpreted, and he was forever trying to kind of set the record straight. So it also came with its other layer of interest, in a way, to have all that coverage and have all that, that sort of those different perspectives on them, as well as their own, I guess.
Did it make you, as you were writing this book, I think, which, as you mentioned, kind of involves journalism a little bit within the book. This was a, media story, as we talked about. Has this made you think about journalism and relationships?
Yes, for sure. I mean, it's made me really, it's made me think about a lot about how a story becomes a story.
Okay.
And the sort of, what how we receive these sort of ideas of, and especially about people's personal lives. Actually, you think you see a version of people in the press, and you think you know them, and then actually, when you have the luxury of being able to sort of see behind the curtain a little bit and know how do they actually sort of feel about themselves or each other or their lives. In one case with Morris and Marilyn, like, they were often, it was often assumed that he had been the sort of captain and the leader and the person that had sort of kept them going through this, and she was sort of slightly pushed to one side. And in fact, when they were adrift on the raft, it was Marilyn who had really been the person who'd kept them going, and that, and he was always gave her credit for that. He was always very open about that, but it was this sort of assumption made at the beginning, especially, that, he must have, as the man in the 70s, must have been the kind of the guy to keep the show on the road. So, it's that kind of thing, which is very, very interesting. Yeah.
That is, absolutely. Well, I wanted to transition a little bit and talk about books, because books are such a huge part of writing. So I'll start with, are you a big reader?
I am a big reader,
Okay.
yes. I mostly read fiction, though, I should say,
Okay.
which is, given that I spend my life, writing journalism and nonfiction books, it's unusual, but actually not that unusual, in that I think a lot of the same, or certainly the kind of nonfiction I like to write and to read, is sort of shares a lot of qualities with great novels, I think, or with sort of fiction that feels very alive, which is a sort of storytelling and character led and colorful, and anything that can sort of avoids the dry or the overly kind of information heavy. Like, I guess my sort of interest in nonfiction is very much tilted towards the sort of narrative and the creative and that end of things. So that's, and so my reading is very fiction heavy.
I completely understand that. I am the same way. Well, we're running out of time. We have to go to break, but when we come back, I need to talk to you more about books. Some books from childhood, some favorite books right now. So, Sophie, hang tight. We will be right back, and everyone, stay tuned. After these quick messages, we will return. Thanks so much. Welcome back to the Beltway Book Club, everyone. I am your host. That's right, Ellen Many, haven't changed. And I'm here with my guest today, Sophie Elmhirst. She's the author of A Marriage at Sea. We have been having great conversation about the writing process and about books, and I want to continue the conversation about books. I always like to ask, was there a book in your childhood that just really inspired you and brought you to the path you're on now?
Hmm. I mean, I can't say it brought me directly to the
Right.
path, but the book I remember, was a series that I loved more than anything and read and reread and have since reread it to my daughter. Was actually an American book. It was the Ramona series by Beverly
Yes.
Cleary. And this was, I mean, it's such a random thing to raise in this context, but actually, when I was thinking about it, because it was the first thing that came into my head as like a childhood passion, and actually, I think there's something to it because what I loved about it, unlike, I was never a big reader actually of sort of fantasy or kind of, I don't know, sort of otherworldly adventure. What I loved about those Ramona books was how rooted they were in reality, how
Mm.
they almost felt reported in a way. They felt like, even though she was in a different country to me and, living an American childhood, it was a very tangibly real family in a tangibly real world, and there was something in the detail and the kind of emotional texture and physical texture of the books that made them incredibly real to me. And that's always been the kind of writing that I've really responded to, I think, and I guess tried to do, is try to sort of root things in reality and in this sort of touch and feel of normal, of day-to-day life, and those sort of day-to-day stories as well, about you just average people, not particular people in any way. So that was the book that came to mind from childhood.
And well, it sounds like it's very, as you said, on parallel with your own path, where you are a journalist and you are taking these stories that are factual and real and turning them
Mm,
into compulsively readable material. What about books right now that you've particularly
mm.
enjoyed? Anything really on your radar?
So the writer I've devoured sort of everything she's written in the last, well, she's been writing for many, many years. She's now 82. She's called Helen Garner, and
Mm.
she's an Australian writer. And a lot of her books have recently been republished. I think they were originally many decades ago, but have just been republished in the UK and in the US as well. So I implore people to discover them, and particularly her diaries. And again, that's because she has this incredible ability, which I can only hope to sort of emulate, to turn what is literally her diary, and it's this large volume of diaries from about 20 years of her life, mostly documenting her relationships and her marriages and in that time and their destruction. But what she can do is take real life, day-to-day experience, and both has this kind of wonderful reportorial eye of noting every little detail and every little sort of fluctuation in mood and weather and tiny things, but also it reads like a thriller. And I'm not kidding. It's a one woman's life, day by day, but she's edited it into this sort of perfect arc. And it's everything sort of tangible, it's everything real, but my God, it is a compelling a read as anything anything you could find. I think the diaries are called How to End a Story, if anyone wants to look it up.
You sold it to me. I mean, that sounds incredible. It's that is going on my to be read list. I also like to ask people, how many books do you read a year?
Oh my God, I've never counted.
That's
And
healthy. I think that's
uh,
healthy.
I'm often reading two or three at once. I find I have books for different times of day, so I will often read fiction at night. And if I get reading sort of nonfiction during the day, often related to something I'm working on. But yeah, I've never actually done a total of all the books.
I think that's a very healthy way to go about reading. But speaking of kind of books in general, what's next for you? Are you working on anything else beyond A Marriage? I mean, I know A Marriage at Sea is done, but looking beyond, what's next?
Yeah, I've been working on something for a little while. I hope it will at some point be finished. It's another true story. It's another sort of historical story, and actually a little longer ago. So it's going a little further back into the 19th century. And I guess all I'll say is, well, a little like Marilyn, it has women, two women, two sisters at its heart, but it involves a series of court cases. It's a sort of yeah, it's I guess a story about the difficulty of women choosing the direction of their own lives in that time, and how they go about trying to do that.
I can.
But I hope dramatic in its own way.
It
Not a
sounds
shipwreck, but it's
but you know what? I mean, a courtroom drama potentially. It sounds fascinating, and I can't wait for it. If people want to find you or find your book, how can they do that?
of course, I think A Marriage at Sea is in, I think, American bookshops right now
Yes.
in paperback, so it's there to be found. I am not that online. I don't do much social media, but I'm
Good for
very.
you.
I have a website, sophieelmhurst.com, where nothing much happens, but my email address is on there. So I love getting emails from readers, and I think I always reply. And if I haven't, that's because I've just been scatty. But my intention is always to reply. So it's a lovely thing to correspond with readers. So yeah, I welcome that.
Absolutely. You are a pinnacle of mental health. I feel like you don't count how many books you read. You don't have social media. I want to be you when I grow up. You know, I feel like for a writer, that is kind of the best way to go about things.
Maybe you feel a little adrift. I feel a little adrift in my own little life raft, to be honest. But I'm quite peaceful out here, so I'll stick with it for now.
Sounds much like the book A Marriage at Sea, a bit of draft, but if it's peaceful, that's what matters. Well, again, thank you so much for joining me. It's been great chatting with you, and yes, thank you again for joining the Beltway Book Club.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and everyone, thanks so much for watching. Have a great one. We will be back next week. I will see you then.